Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Doc T. This is Dr. Farheen, General Medicine resident, and today let's discuss a very commonly seen topic, that is jaundice. Jaundice. Jaundice is defined as yellowish discoloration of body tissues because of bilirubin deposition. Now, increased bilirubin can occur because of three causes. The first thing is when there is increased hemolysis, the second thing is when there is any disease of liver, and the third thing is when there is any obstruction in the biliary tract. Okay, so the first one is known as hemolytic jaundice, the second one is known as hepatocellular jaundice, and the third one is known as the cholestatic jaundice or obstructive jaundice. Now, when there is increased amount of bilirubin, where you can look at? First thing is you can look at the bulbar conjunctiva. The second part is over the mucous membranes and the lower surface of the tongue. And the third, eventually, the third thing it will involve is the whole skin. Okay, so this is the picture of jaundice. Now, coming to the metabolism of bilirubin, which is really very important, so please listen carefully. Starting from the spleen, the RBCs are broken down into hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is finally converted into unconjugated bilirubin in the spleen. This binds to albumin and then it is transported through the bloodstream to the liver. And in the liver, the unconjugated bilirubin is taken through a membrane transporter. Okay, and the albumin is sent back into the circulation. This unconjugated bilirubin, which has reached the liver, is converted into conjugated bilirubin by the enzyme UDP glucuronil transferase, which is uridine diphosphate glucuronosyl transferase. So, the conjugated bilirubin, which is now formed, will be excreted into the biliary tree. So, through the biliary tree, it will reach the second part of duodenum. Now, through the second part of duodenum, it passes all over through the small intestine, and at the level of the distal ileum and the colon, by the bacteria it is converted back into unconjugated bilirubin and urobilinogen. This urobilinogen will then about 80 to 90% will be lost in stools, and about 10 to 20% undergoes enterohepatic circulation, of which a very little amount reaches the kidneys, and from the kidneys a little amount will be excreted in urine. So this is a complete metabolism of bilirubin. So we'll see a line diagram now. So in the spleen, RBCs are converted into bilirubin, which is unconjugated bilirubin. This unconjugated bilirubin reaches the liver after binding to albumin. In the liver, the unconjugated bilirubin is taken up, and this is converted to conjugated bilirubin by UDP glucuronosyl transferase. This conjugated bilirubin is then excreted into the biliary tree, and with the help of MRP2, which is multi-drug resistant protein 2, and little amount is again reuptaken by organic anion transporter 1B1 and 1B3. Now, through the biliary tree, the conjugated bilirubin reaches all the way down up to the distal ileum, where by the bacteria it is converted back into unconjugated bilirubin as well as urobilinogen, and this urobilinogen, about 80 to 90% is lost in stools, and about 10 to 20% undergoes enterohepatic circulation, of which little amount reaches the kidneys and then it is excreted in urine. So this is a complete metabolism of bilirubin. Okay, now the two pictures you can correlate. Okay, and now let's see the membrane transporters that are involved here. The first transporter is for the uptake of unconjugated bilirubin into the liver. The second one is for the excretion of conjugated bilirubin into the biliary tract, which is the multi-drug resistant protein 2. The third one is for the reuptake of conjugated bilirubin into the liver, which is the organic anion transporter protein 1B1 and 1B3. Okay, so these are the transporters. Now let's look at the abnormalities of bilirubin metabolism. Number one, when there is increased hemolysis, there is increased production of unconjugated bilirubin. So unconjugated bilirubin increases. Number two, when there is a defect in the membrane transporters that reuptakes unconjugated bilirubin, there is increased in unconjugated bilirubin. Number three, when there is the defect in this enzyme UDP glucuronosyl transferase, there is no conjugation, so unconjugated bilirubin will increase. Number 4, when there is a defect in the multi-drug resistant protein 2, there is no excretion of the conjugated bilirubin into the biliary tract. So the conjugated bilirubin will increase. Number 5, when there is defect in the organic anion transport protein 1b1 and 1b3, there is no proper reuptake of the conjugated bilirubin into the liver, so conjugated bilirubin increases. So condition number 1, 2 and 3 will increase unconjugated bilirubin, whereas 4 and 5 will increase the conjugated bilirubin. So these are few abnormalities of bilirubin metabolism. Okay, now we'll look at hyperbilirubinemia. Whenever the bilirubin is increased, look if the unconjugated fraction is increased or if the conjugated fraction is increased. Unconjugated is also known as the indirect bilirubin, and conjugated is also known as the direct bilirubin. Now, suppose the unconjugated fraction is increased, only three things should come into your mind. So the first one is that either there is increased hemolysis. Second thing is when there is impaired reuptake of the unconjugated bilirubin, and third one is when there is impaired conjugation. Okay, now looking at increased hemolysis, this may be because of congenital or acquired causes. So congenital causes of hemolysis include sickle cell anemias, thalassemias, hereditary spherocytosis, G6PD or pyruvate kinase deficiencies, and acquired causes include autoimmune hemolytic anemias, hemolytic uremic syndrome, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, and malaria. Similarly, when there is impaired uptake, think about two drugs, especially rifampin and probenecid. These are the two drugs that can impair the uptake of unconjugated bilirubin into liver. When there is impaired conjugation, that means the enzyme is defective. So, UDP glucuronidase transferase is defective. Now, if this enzyme is completely absent, it is known as Crigler-Najjar syndrome type 1. And if 10% of the enzyme is present, then it is known as Crigler-Najjar type 2. And if about 10 to 35% of the enzyme is present, it is known as Gilbert syndrome. Okay, so these are the causes of unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Now let's look at conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. That means bilirubin is already conjugated, but either it is not properly excreted into the biliary tract. This is known as the hepatocellular cause. Or that which is excreted into the biliary tract has some obstruction, so it is flowing back. So backflow from the biliary tract. This is known as a cholestatic cause or an obstructive cause. So first we'll look at hepatocellular cause. This includes, so first and very important one is alcoholic hepatitis. So alcohol induced liver damage. Here AST will be more than ALT, and AST will be usually less than 300 unit per liter. Second one is viral hepatitis. Here ALT will be more than or equal to AST and the value will reach very high. The third one is toxin induced hepatitis. So toxin induced liver damage. Here also again ALT will be more than AST and the value will again reach very high. So toxins that can cause liver damage include drugs, then Wilson's disease, mushroom poisoning, and certain chemicals like vinyl chloride. Now coming to cholestatic causes. So in cholestatic causes, remember the biliary tree has two parts, one inside the liver, that is known as the intrahepatic part. So if there is obstruction in that part, it is known as intrahepatic cholestasis. In the part of biliary tree which is outside the liver is known as extrahepatic part. So if there is obstruction there, it is known as extrahepatic cholestasis. So both of them are very easily differentiated by an ultrasound. Okay. Now looking at intrahepatic causes of cholestasis. Again very important, and the first and foremost is the drugs, especially steroids and oral contraceptives. The second cause could be autoimmune conditions like primary biliary cholangitis. So this is a picture here. Okay, and the third cause could be a simple sepsis. These are the causes of intrahepatic cholestasis. Now we'll look at extrahepatic cholestasis. So obstruction of the biliary tree outside the liver. That could be because of some tumor of pancreas, gallbladder, or ampullary carcinoma, cholangiocarcinoma, or because of calculi obstructing the biliary tract, which is known as choledocholithiasis, or because of strictures. Okay, so these are the pictures. So this is a tumor that can obstruct the biliary tract, or calculi obstructing the biliary tract, or strictures. So these are the extrahepatic causes of cholestasis. Now let's look at a quick review of jaundice. Now, starting from the definition, jaundice is yellowish discoloration of body tissues because of bilirubin deposition. Now, this bilirubin that is deposited can be seen in the bulbar conjunctiva, in the mucosal surfaces, and finally it will involve the skin. Next, the metabolism of bilirubin. First, we'll look at the diagram which is below, the line diagram. So, in the spleen, the RBCs are first broken down to release bilirubin, which is unconjugated bilirubin. This unconjugated bilirubin binds to albumin and then it reaches the liver. In the liver, the unconjugated bilirubin is converted to conjugated bilirubin by UDP glucuronosal transferase. This conjugated bilirubin is then excreted into the biliary tree with the help of multidrug resistant protein 2, and little amount will also be reuptaken back into the liver with the help of organic anion transporter proteins. From the biliary tree, the conjugated bilirubin reaches the distal ileum. There it is converted to unconjugated bilirubin, also urobilinogen, of which 80 to 90% is lost in stools and 10 to 20% undergoes enterohepatic circulation. Little amount reaches the kidneys and is excreted in urine. Okay. Now, so abnormalities of bilirubin metabolism is when there is increased hemolysis, when there is defect in membrane transporter reuptaking the unconjugated bilirubin, and when there is defect of the enzyme which is required for conjugation. So these three processes will increase the amount of unconjugated bilirubin. Okay. Next, when there is defect in multidrug resistant protein 2, that is known as Dubin-Johnson syndrome, the conjugated bilirubin will increase. And when there is a defect in organic anion transport protein, that is known as Rotor syndrome, again the conjugated bilirubin will increase. So in 4 and 5, the conjugated bilirubin is increased. Okay, now we'll look at hyperbilirubinemia. So whenever there is increased bilirubin, just look which fraction is increased. If the unconjugated part is increased or the conjugated part is increased. If the unconjugated part is increased, think about hemolysis or impaired uptake because of rifampicin or probenecid, or because of impaired conjugation where the enzyme is defective. Now, if the conjugated part is increased, then either it is because the conjugated bilirubin is not properly excreted into the biliary tract, that is known as the hepatocellular cause, or the part which is excreted is again flowing back because of obstruction known as cholestatic cause. So hepatocellular causes include alcoholic hepatitis, viral hepatitis, and toxin induced hepatitis, and cholestatic causes may be because of obstruction of the biliary tract which is inside the liver, which is known as intrahepatic cholestasis, or obstruction of the biliary tract that is outside the liver, known as extrahepatic cholestasis. So intrahepatic cholestasis can occur because of drugs, very important, especially steroids and OCPs, autoimmune conditions, and sepsis. And extrahepatic cholestasis can occur because of tumors, calculi, or stricture. So this is a complete view of jaundice. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Let's meet again with another new topic. Till then, take care and be happy.